I'll reduce the resolution. Hello everyone. You're welcome. Just for us to give some few minutes for some others to join us, and then we're gonna get right started. If you're joining us and you're gonna subscribe to our channel, would you please kindly subscribe to our channel, like our page on YouTube, follow us on Facebook as well. Okay, right. So please, if you're already joining us from the group, we'd like to know where you're joining us from. Can you just type your name on the chat box and maybe share your Instagram handle? We're expecting that those joining us right now are fashion designers. And we're ready for this class. So I can see that we have 5 people on the call right now. I'd appreciate if you could join your just drop your name in the comment section and the chat section. Just to begin with us. All right, so we already have 8 people joining us. You're welcome. But I just like to see your names. You just drop your name on the chat box and tell us where you're joining us from. Are you joining us from Lagos? Are you joining us from Abuja? Are you joining us from Ghana? Just drop your names and where you're joining us from. Once we have a sizable number of people joining us, we're just going to get started. Just waiting for some few more people to join us. And as you're joining us, kindly like, subscribe to the channel. Okay, so we have 10 viewers now. So please, we'd like to just get to know those joining us at the moment. You can just introduce yourself, your name, and where you're joining us from in the chat section. We'll really appreciate that. Okay, I can see Emmanuel from Lagos. Excited to be here. Emmanuel from Lagos, Taiwo from Lagos. I know we have more people joining us now. Would be nice if the others would also drop a comment. Just give us, say, some few minutes, 3 to 4 minutes, and then we're gonna get started. Thank you. Um, all right. So for the others joining us, I mentioned earlier, would appreciate if you could leave your name and where you're joining us from. Looking forward to getting to meet everyone. I mean, it's been a long time coming. We've been making some buzz around this webinar, to start out 2026 on a high note. I strongly believe it's going to be on a high note. Some conversations we're going to be having today, we looked at them sometimes last year, late December. Some couple of them we're going to revisit them again today. audience would appreciate if you could also subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Um, all right, we're going to be getting started in some few minutes. I promise you, this is going to be some very good value of your time. Good evening, everyone, once again. Thank you for joining us. And for those of you joining us from YouTube, you can as well kindly like and subscribe to our channel here on YouTube. I'd like to see the number increase based on the number of viewers we currently have on YouTube. You're all welcome. Good evening. In a few minutes, we're going to be starting exactly for 6:30. We're going to be starting. I feel that's sort of like enough buffer to have everyone join us right about now. And for those of you joining us, thank you. I can see Tolu joining us now. Joy, you're welcome. Please, if you have friends who also join this community and they are not yet on the webinar, please share this link with them. We'd like to have everyone join us. So we have 3 minutes more, and we're going to be starting in 3 minutes. Okay, right, everyone. Good evening once again, and thank you for joining us. So, I just want to make some quick introductions to get us to begin to learn about what we do here at Bending Waters, and sort of like what inspired the um, this particular webinar that we want to have right now. Just a minute. Okay, all right. So you're welcome to Bending Waters, and I would just like to give you some few overview. Firstly, about Bending Waters, we are a digital marketing agency, and one of the things we like to say about ourselves is the fact that we are built differently to help you unlock true growth from marketing, and we've had brands that we've had to work with in the past in helping them to scale their businesses or helping them to run certain campaigns or maybe launch new products into the market. And then moving on from here, just a minute, please. Okay, all right. So you're welcome back again. So generally, last year, towards the end of last year, we had a very quick webinar where we looked at some few things regarding why fashion businesses or fashion business owners should have a business plan. And the intent around why we sort of like had the webinar was because we wanted to drive this intention from fashion designers or fashion design business owners to be very intentional about their growth. And this idea sort of like came to me from when a couple of friends that reached out to me, to help them run ads and help them promote their brand on social media. And then I thought about the fact that I've had this request sort of like come up over and over and over and over again. And then I thought maybe I'm just going to get them together and then just teach them how to run ads on social media, and then so you can just sort of like get more customers for yourself. And then I thought the same thing we could have done for maybe three, four people. Then why don't you just do it for the fashion design community? And then that was where the idea came from. Then why don't we build a community? Let's have people join the community and let's just run a free training for them to learn how to run their ads, how to create visibility, and then grow their business. And then when we started having this conversation with designers, the conversation then evolved beyond running ads to understanding that there was also a problem around structure. There was some challenges around operations, and there's also some problem around scaling, for designers. And then we thought, oh, so we need to have the training on why you need a marketing plan. So the whole idea wasn't exactly having a marketing plan for your fashion design business. It was more around being intentional about your growth. And if you're going to be intentional about your growth, you have to be able to document the set of activities that you want to do to see to it that your business is growing. So why exactly does this class exist? It exists to sort of like bring that understanding and direction to us, help us see why and how we can be intentional about the growth when it comes to our business. Because at the end of the day, beyond seeing our fashion design business as a business where we have to cut, to sew, and to sell, at the end of the day, it's still a business. It's not a hobby. It's not just a passion. It's still a business. So the core frameworks marketing is usually built around, which sort of like gives you the direction in how to see your marketing or how to grow your business if you're going to be marketing as a fashion designer. Is number one, you have to look at the awareness stage, you have to look at the interest stage, you have to look at the desire stage, and then the action stage. So that means in any brand, how people will know you will be that you have to create awareness for your brand. You have to build interest with your customers, that you have to engage them with valuable information that addresses their needs or that helps them see you as an authority or as a professional within your chosen field. And then the desire stage is where you then nurture these customers that have built interest in you by then showcasing them the advantage for them doing business with you. And then the action is how you then eventually sell to them, right? And then going to the next slide, you see the four business wheels, or what I like to call the business wheel structure model. We touched on this last year. I was going to say last month, but then last month is just the same as last year, anyways. We get to see how that there are four wheels, like four segments, generally any business is found in. Number one, which is the phase one, we call it the client's phase, we call it the subscribers phase, the members, and then the customers. So there's like a structure you can have if you want to grow your business, if you want to market your business. The most important thing in marketing is you must know who are the people you're speaking to, who are the audience you're targeting, who are the people you sort of like want to interact with, who are the people who are going to be buying the service that you want to offer. And then if you begin to look at the fact that there's a certain group you want to sell to, there's a certain group you want to market to, the next thing you want to look at is your messaging, because who you want to sell to will inform how you're going to sell to them. And so we coined these four strategic words to help us sort of like identify the kind of structure we can have in our business if we want to scale. And I'll put it to you this way. So something happened. I found this content online of this business structure experts. This person was online and was running, advertisements around his own strategy to want to structure a business. And of course, I've always been curious around the different models you can sort of like structure your business. So I had to pay a couple of dollars to buy that material. And the insights I got from that material was wow. And then I thought this is something that will be very valuable on this webinar. And then I'm giving that material to every one of us here for free. So I sort of like had to distill the knowledge that I got from there and then put it on here and then to make the knowledge available to us for free. So the first part of the structure that I want to look at in your fashion design business is to ask yourself a question. Who are those you're going to be seeing as clients? Excuse me. So clients are typically the people who buy your service, right? Your garments. And you have to sort of like customize your designs for them. So whoever comes into or approaches you and then say, oh, I want to sew for Ashwebi, I want to sew for a birthday party, I want to sew for a wedding, whoever that is going to be in that case, those are your clients because you are creating custom made clothes for them. So they're your clients. And then you have another group you can sort of like segment, which would be your subscribers now. And these are the ones that oftentimes is the least understood model when it comes to how business owners want to scale. Because one of the sustainable ways, or one of the most sustainable ways of growing your business or growing your brand, is sort of like having subscribers, right? And but yet this is like still one of the least understood model of scale or growth, in business generally. So it's all around standardizing your packages, standardizing your offerings, or standardizing the value that you give to your customers and productizing them. And then maybe, no, not productizing them, standardizing them rather, and then selling them. So I'll give you an example of what a subscriber model is. For example, when we all want to probably use YouTube, or you want to use Facebook and you want to get verified, or maybe you want to use the premium YouTube, you have to pay for subscriptions on a monthly basis. So that's monthly charging, or recurrent charging is what you refer to as subscription. So usually for fashion designers, one of the things you want to sort of like figure out early is what kind of services could you offer to clients that could put you on a subscription model where revenue on a monthly basis or periodically is guaranteed. That's one of the things you want to think about. And then there's also the structure that speaks to the model, to members, where you're not thinking about who are the members that I'm going to be selling to. So, and we had mentioned last week as well, the members are people who want to access your knowledge, your experience, and your creative process. Now, usually, this buying segment turns years of experience into recurring income without even picking up a needle. Now, at this stage, you want to work with members or apprentices. Now, who would these people be? It would probably refer to trainings that could be one-on-one, trainings to maybe a small group of people, or just running programs generally around some of the brands or the services that you offer. And then you want to really think about it. There are times when probably you have people who probably want to learn a skill from you. They probably want to just come and be an apprentice in your business, or you maybe want to run a training program for a vocational school. This is another segment you can look at in monetizing your skill for. And then finally, the fourth stage is the customer stage. And these are people where you probably want to offer productized services for. So customers are people that will buy from you services that you are able to productize. An example of the service you can productize could be maybe you are sewing crunchies, or you're sewing wristbands, or you're sewing t-shirts, or you're sewing scarves, and then you are able to sort of like productize them, maybe take them to different supermarkets, take them to trade fairs, and then you're taking them there to sell. So those that is a segment you can then say you're trying to build a customer base. So ideally in a business, if you want to sort of like diversify, you want to grow, you want to scale, you want to look at the four different segments and see how you can sort of like build your business around them. You want to look at the clients, people who you do ready-made wares for. Sorry, I was muted for a while. The people you want to do custom made dresses for. That's number one. The number two are subscribers, people you can find a way of offering some form of repeat service, to them, on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis, on a quarterly basis, on a yearly basis, depending on how you want to figure that out. And then you have your members, that is people who want to access your knowledge in form of training. Maybe they're going to come to you in-house to take some training from you, some physical training, or maybe the training is just remote. And then you have customers where you have been able to productize some of your services and then you can sell them. Some of an idea, it's probably creating a DIY ebook on how to maybe do some basic fixes, or maybe how to sew a tote bag yourself, or how to sew a throw pillow cover or something, or how to sort of like mend a torn trouser, something simple, right? And you could just put that knowledge into a ebook. Or you have a unique way in maybe how you measure or how you sew certain kind of custom made dresses, and then you want to put them into a ebook, and then you want to productize it and maybe sell on Seller. I've had this conversation. Someone one time told me that there was a couple of people who wanted to learn a unique way in how she sews, and then what she simply did was to put a technique into a PDF material, and then she sold it to them, and then she just felt, if these people could have bought it, I mean, why don't I just put it online and have other people buy it from there? So generally you begin to look at, how am I able to segment my business? And then it's important for me to now then look at what my business model will be. Looking at me focusing on clients, diversify to customers, diversify into productizing your services and building subscriptions. Then you have to now then decide, in this year 2026, what kind of business model do I want to have? Do I want to target the four? Am I ready for the four? Or am I just ready for one side? Or am I doing one side, or I feel I want to do the remaining ones? Now, I'll give you something for free. One key part in choosing your business model is that you get to realize that if you focus only on number one, which is building clients and custom made dresses, it will seem as though your time or 24 hours will never be enough, because you keep using a huge and a significant amount of your time. But the moment you now begin to realize that you sort of like can diversify into different service offerings or different product offerings, maybe it's a subscription model, or you've been able to productize some of your services and you can sell them online, maybe even have an e-commerce store where you sell them. Even while you sleep, you can still be making money, and the revenue of your business does not entirely have to depend on you having to sew all the time. And that's some of the things you have to look at. So, depending on whatever business model you want to choose and how you probably want to save time and scale, you have to begin to think that, what model do I want to adopt? And there are four different leverage ladders that I want you to look at. So, number one says, I will do it for you. That is going to be fully customized. And this is the highest touch point of your business, right? Bespoke outfits, bridal gowns. It's usually the most profitable. I mean, in many cases, it's one business that you can do and you probably make like 500K from it, or you make like 200K from it, or even do and you make like 5M from it, maybe from a wedding gown, or you are sewing for a Ashwebi. So that's the first leverage. I will do it for you. It's fully customized. You can decide that that is going to be your primary business model. And usually this is how, 70 to 80% of fashion designers start out. I will do it for you, making custom made dresses. Now, the second model is subscribers. You have now productized the services. That is, I have done it for you. However, it is now standardized. This means that I have done this one specific thing, right? I've done this one specific thing for you, and I've done it repeatedly, unlike having to get customers come and patronize me for me to make a custom dress or a custom service for them. But this time I have done it. Is now for you to just come and keep renewing your access to what I have done for you, either on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, or on a yearly basis. So that subscriber part is usually the most dicey area, but it's not impossible. It's something that, I believe that we can get to figure out together what kind of model you can build around subscription services that you're offering to your customers. And then when it comes to the members, you're looking at programs and training that is done with you. We're going to do it together. However, I get paid for the time I spend teaching you or showing you how to do it. So this is like the typical model that works with an average fashion designer here in Nigeria, where you have an apprentice who's going to come, and then you tell the apprentice to pay 100,000, or you pay 200,000, or you pay 300,000 to learn for the space of 6 months or 1 year. Then after which you get your freedom and then you leave. So this is another model you want to explore. And this model also gives you leverage to scale, where you are no longer the only one building, or you are no longer the only one doing things. You now have people working with you, and that way you are able to diversify, you are able to, spread your options, and you are not the only one doing them. One of the most challenging issues with business owners in scaling, even with fashion designers, is when you are the only one doing everything. If you are the only one doing everything and you keep being the only one doing everything, you make scaling very difficult. And that is one thing you want to be able to achieve. You want to be able to achieve, how do you transfer your knowledge? Do you want to transfer your knowledge and have people you do it with? Or you want to transfer your knowledge in such a way that you can just sell it? For example, that's the customer's part. Number 4, where it shows products and you're telling them do it yourself. That is, I will show you how it is done. Here are the tools. And then this is how to maybe get something done. This is how to get one thing done. Maybe scrunchies, whether it's tote bags, or maybe different things that people would like to learn how to sew. And then you put it into an ebook material, and then you put it online, and then all your focus done is that you're just, making buzz around it and your marketing. Or maybe you have a friend who does digital marketing, or you want to approach Bending Waters to help you run the ads and help you create visibility for that product. I mean, we'll be happy to help you. And then maybe what you're just simply doing is you already have the product in your PDF material, it is well designed. What you have to think about is now your distribution and your marketing. What platforms do I want them to be able to find this? Of course, I don't want to make it free and just available for anyone on Google Drive. I probably want to put it on Seller so I can then monetize the content that I'm selling. And then I see how I can then run ads online, run ads on Facebook, run ads on Twitter, run ads on TikTok, run ads on Instagram, to drive repeat purchase of that one singular product. Now it can be one singular thing, and it can also be multiple things, depending on what you choose to or the model you choose to want to use in selling it. And so what you want to do next is that you want to maximize customer conversion. Number 1 is that you have to look at the services. Like I said, I will do this for you. Now this focuses more on the client services model, where you have clients that you're offering services for, and you're telling them, I'll do this for you. That is custom fit dresses or custom made clothes, right? And then there's productized services, where, and this is how you scale, right? You sort of like do the custom dresses, and then you go into productizing some of the services that you offer. So imagine you do tote bags, or maybe you do scarves, or you do t-shirts, particularly for startups who probably want to do merchandise, or different groups, associations. Maybe they want to run or do some design on merchandise, t-shirts, maybe sweatshirts, or maybe hoodies, right? So those are prototype services. You have done it, and then you are just selling them in bulk. You have them in different sizes, ready made. I mean, this a typical example of ready made wares, where you have done this one thing and then you're selling it. That's all. In fact, for some cases, some fashion designers won't even bother maybe sewing more than one, and then they make it their brand advertising material, and then they reach out to other tailors as orders come in to help them sew according to their SOPs. And we're still going to come there later, where as a fashion designer, if you're thinking about scaling, particularly around building productized services, you have to start thinking about having a standard operating procedure. That is, what are your SOPs? If someone is going to recreate what I've done without me being in the room, do I have a standard for my brand? Do I have a certain way my clothes look? And is there a standard? Is there a kind of quality? Is there a kind of material that I use? Is there a kind of sewing pattern that I use? Is there a kind of printing that I use on the material, that I sew? That's you having to have a standard operating procedure. And the key objective of a standard operating procedure is to say that if I'm not in the room, can I have people who can reproduce the same design or the same pattern for me? And then the next thing we want to look at is programs, right? I will show you how to do it, then we'll do it together. So now you have the services, you've moved to productized services, you are now getting apprentices to come together, maybe even run awareness around your communities or online to do certain training. I'm aware, of instances where fashion designers will run trainings online, and they'll train fashion designers maybe how to sew pant trousers, how to sew suits. I've seen suits as one, common one. For some, it's probably how to sew ashwebi, and then you can monetize your knowledge by leveraging programs. And then products. This is, I will show you how to do it, right? And then you do it yourself. We have to fix that text there. I'll show you how to do it, and then you do it yourself. So you have products that you are also selling as a fashion designer. This sort of like interfaces with prototype services. They shouldn't be separated. I think they should just be together. And then the next thing you want to look at is then how you scale, growth. You put the entire process on repeat. It's just putting the entire process on repeat, and then seeing how you sort of like scale from there. And so we looked at some statistics as well. I think as we go, if you have questions, and maybe if I'm being a little too fast, you can please use the chat section, so I can sort of like attend to your questions, just in case if you have any. So there were some statistics we looked at sometimes last year. We looked at how people spend their times on social media, and this is majorly sort of like to give you some direction or how to, be strategic around your marketing, how you want to create awareness for your business. We saw that number one channel has been TikTok, number two has been Facebook, number three has been YouTube, number four has been Snapchat, number five has been Instagram, then Twitter, then LinkedIn, then Pinterest. So as a fashion designer, you want to create a lot of buzz for your brand, I'll recommend you use TikTok. Even though eventually you want to monetize your account, you want to grow on Facebook, you want to grow on Instagram. Here's what I'm going to recommend. You won't get known, or you won't get visibility as quick as you get visibility on TikTok. Now, TikTok is more like a leverage right now, because the higher visibility you get on TikTok, the more leverage it gives you to get that visibility on Facebook, on Instagram, or on YouTube. But I want to mention, if you're building a digital marketing strategy, or you're building a marketing strategy for 2026 for your fashion brand or for your business, and you want to scale fast, then you can't ignore TikTok from your strategy. Another thing you want to look at is, where do people use social media? And then we're able to figure out how that we have sort of like different places where people focus on their use of social media, or what leads people to even use social media at all. And in fact, that one of the major reasons people use social media is boredom. People are bored, right? And then the second thing is just seeing what is new with friends and family. And the third reason is entertainment. So that lets you see that, you have to also begin to think about the channels you want to use to communicate. Because then again, by doing some research, we got to find out that majority of people that maybe visit social media as a result of boredom use more of TikTok. So that means that you have an opportunity to sort of like shape your user perception or your user awareness about your product or your services by leveraging this mainstream media. And then again, we find out that, one of the major reasons people use YouTube, because YouTube still sort of like carries one of the strongest and the most authoritative platform, for product research, or for, brand building. People who seem to want to validate questions like, can I trust this brand? Is this person legit? They oftentimes make those decisions when they see this person consistent and active on YouTube. So what are the major things people use YouTube for? Number one, they use it to for many other reasons, but to learn how to do something. That's about 19%. 26% use it to learn about industry topics. 28% for entertainment. So that already gives you some cue that you can't want to build awareness, you can't want to build visibility for your brand, but you have to be strategic about how you also create content that is entertaining. You have to create content that is entertaining. And also, currently, one of the most used or most visible content format has been video. In fact, is what ranks highest when you do Google searches on almost any topic. So you also want to consider, video marketing, not just doing images alone, but building and doing a lot of videos. And then one interesting thing we also find out from how you can repurpose video formats is that you can leverage the use of AI. Now, many people have not really been intentional, about how they get to use AI in their strategy, in content creation, content distribution, and content marketing. While we go on, if you're watching us right now, I'd just like to encourage you, please leave us a like, subscribe to our channel again. So when the session starts immediately tomorrow as well, you're the first to know, and you're also going to be able to be the first to get insights, immediately we put out content anytime online. So please, if you are yet to subscribe our channel, for some reason YouTube likes it, and YouTube feel we won't do so well online if you don't subscribe to our channel. So please, can you subscribe to our channel while you're listening to us right now? It's only take you a minute. So I'll give you a minute to do that. So while we're doing that, I know some of us might have questions, around marketing, brand building for your fashion design business. And I think if you do have any questions, please leave us your questions in the chat section. I will pick them up from there and I'll be very happy to answer those questions. So we also found out that the time spent per month on social media, from each social media network, TikTok, for example, still carries the highest number of hours. Next to that is Facebook, then YouTube. So again, it keeps being recurring. So you really can't ignore TikTok if you're going to create visibility for your brand. But then again, it's up to you, right? But there are three major brands you just can't ignore. You can't ignore TikTok, you can ignore Facebook, you can ignore YouTube, and you also can't ignore video. I know some of us might feel camera shy, might not be so comfortable with using video content formats or creating video content and then promoting them on social media, right? But I mean, it is what it is. You have to learn to create video, and there's an interesting way you can do that using some simple AI tools. So, for example, Neil Patel once shared a model that he uses. For example, you would say what he will do is what the social media team does is. I mean, I do that to myself. I've done a couple of podcasts in the past, and that was the same thing that I did. I would create about, I know I want to create a video, right? But then I need a video strategy because I want to probably address 6, 7, 8 different content or maybe content topics on the same video. So what I'll do is I'm going to list out all those topics I want to talk about and make sure that I've written my scripts. I sort of like memorize my scripts, and then I know the emphasis that I want to touch on while creating the video. So while creating the video is probably 20 minutes long, but I'm going to touch on all these topics that I want to talk about. And all these topics become a hook of their own. So what I then do is when I produce the full video, say I do that on CapCut, for example, I then take that video, I go on Opus Clip. So you probably want to screenshot this, and save it on your phone or just note these AI tools, and they are totally free of charge. I go to Opus Clip, and what I do in Opus Clip is I upload the video on Opus Clip. Now there are two ways I can do it. I can choose to upload the video on Facebook and make it visible only to upload the video on YouTube, make it visible only to myself, and then I copy that YouTube link and I put it on Opus Link. So what Opus does for me is it breaks it down into 6 viral clips. So from one video, I get a already pre-edited, Captions AI does the same thing. I can either do it on Opus Clip or I did on Captions AI. So it sort of like edits the video for me into 8 different parts and I can download them. And so in downloading them, I have videos in probably 1, 2, or 3 minutes length that carries those viral hooks for me, and then I can go ahead and have 6 video formats from one video that I created and post them on different days. So that's like one of the strategies you have to create. So you don't have to like always sit down all the time and create one video right now, create another video tomorrow, or you're bothered about the video you're creating again next week. You can just have one sitting, you create a long form video, ensure that you are able to touch on all the topics you want to touch on in that singular video, and then with AI, you are able to edit that video and it breaks it into maybe 6 different videos. Sometimes Opus can even do as much as 9. I think the same with Captions AI. They can do as much as 9 from one single video, and then you can then post maybe 1 minute content from each video, right? And one of the things you want to look at it in repurposing your content, right, is to say, I can now take this video and then I upload it to Riverside AI. So what that does for me is that it then converts my video into a text transcript. And once I have the text transcript, I then take the transcript and I put it on ChatGPT. We can give a prompt to do that afterwards, and then it can use that same text to generate a blog post for you. Now you can then probably post on Substack, or you can post on medium. And don't forget that if you're building a brand, one thing you want to do for yourself is you want to build visibility. Some of us as fashion designers, we neglect the fact that there are several customers, thousands of customers who go online and they're looking for fashion designers. I wish I had added this to the slide. Just last week, we were checking online and we found out that over 16,000 people visit Google every day. So there's a platform we use to check out these numbers. For example, over 16,000 people visit Google every day searching for fashion designers who can deliver luxury clothing to their doorstep. Over 16,000. There's another 16,000 that looks for fashion designers who can deliver ready-made or custom-made clothes to them in their doorstep. And we also saw that there's a lot around delivering of clothes to their doorstep. So that means that there are potential customers who are searching on Google, searching on ChatGPT. But the question will now then be, when they go online to search, you are building a business, hoping someday you become the next Gucci, or hoping someday you become the next Dior. But you have to ask yourself a question: that are you building the framework and the kind of structure that puts you on the sustainable growth to that point where, even though you're probably not like them, but at least if they're looking for notable and significant brands in Nigeria, your brand could be listed among them. Then you need to have a strategy where you can make your brand visible on Facebook, you can make your brand visible on Google, you can make your brand visible on ChatGPT. And one of the ways you want to do that is by creating a lot of content, so that when customers are finding topics related to things you do, relating to fashion, relating to brands altogether, they can find you and they can reach out to you. And I'll give you one interesting tip. For instance, I have a couple of people that reach out to me from the UK, and they are building a fashion design brand that allows fashion designers in Nigeria to export their designs to the US, and they get paid in dollars. Now they are building their own infrastructure. I think they're already even done. They're probably just testing the DHL delivery APIs and all that, but that presents itself an awesome opportunity, right? And then I'm thinking, if someone is going to come on that platform now, you don't want to build a brand where your brand content is not top notch or is not quality enough, because then again, your brand content or the things you put out there about your brand, it sort of like creates a perceived value about your business. And you want to be careful if you're exporting your brand from Nigeria to other countries. You also want to be careful how your brand is being perceived by your customers as opposed to your competitors. And again, yes, don't forget, you're not the only fashion designer out there. You have competitors too. And it's something you have to look at. So it's like saying you're putting out content on Instagram. There are 1,001 other fashion designers putting out content on Instagram. But what's making sure that you're getting visibility, or what makes you distinct from the other brands? That's sort of like the things you want to look at. So the other day, we did a case study on these guys you can see on my screen. The first guy, they call him Prof. The second guy, I know we all know him as well. We all know her. She's Vicky James. And then the third guy, we all know him as well, Ishe Ivodi. And then we said, what model of marketing have these guys been using online? And I took my time, to study Vicky James. I went through, if I'm not wrong, I probably would have gone through at least 500 to 700 of our posts. And I do that sometimes. I remember one time I need to research a brand that I launched since 2014. And I scrolled them down to their very first post. I did that recently for a founder also that I interviewed. I can just see to your social media channel and I'll scroll to your very first post. And I'm looking at all the strategies you have been leveraging in posting. But we're still going to come to some of the things that they did that sort of like made them stand out. I'm going to start with Prof. One of the things this first guy did was that I noticed in his marketing, he often uses how to and education. His post is usually educational. It will tell you about suits. It will tell you about how to dress, more like as though he's a stylist. It will tell you the kind of shoe you should wear to certain occasions, the kind of suits you should wear to certain occasions, the kind of fabric you should use in sewing, certain kind of suits, and how the suit should be sewn. And he's always so precise. He's always so he almost sounds as though he's academic in how he teaches you on how to style your dress or how to style your clothes, for the gentleman. And the way he does it, he sort of like positions him as a thought leader. So him speaking that way, it gives people the impression that this guy understands how to dress and he understands shoes, he understands clothing. And naturally it becomes the top of mind if anybody is thinking about wanting to sew clothes, sew suits, wanting to sew pant trousers, or wanting to look, formal, maybe wanting to sew a suit for a wedding occasion or for business occasion, or a suit for probably a semi-casual occasion. It becomes the go-to guy because he does a lot of educational content. So for him, that's his own model. It's sort of like building an authority around that, and his market is quite niched. Is sort of like positioning his brand also as a luxurious brand. And there's this other person that is here as well, Vicky James. At the time when she started to go viral, of course, she has been sewing for celebrities. She has been doing so well. But one thing I noticed about her was that she was really, really hungry for visibility. And one of the things she did was to amplify her brand. Now, she had always been creating content, is what I've noticed about her. She have always had times when she has created content with celebrities, not content, sorry, done designs and clothes for celebrities. But there was something she did to sort of like amplify her brand. And it was when she started partnering with Mama Diola, and the whole awareness with someone who does comedy skits. And don't forget that's all around the strategy of building content, but content this time that is entertaining. Now, while it seemed that though she was just building content around comedy skits, and then she was following Mama Diola all over the place, and she was just going, but one major thing it was doing for her was that it was giving a brand even more awareness, even more awareness. You look at something Sheivodi did as well, because he knows that, I mean, he is going for the 1% of the 1%. So that means that all he needs in his model is the who can I sew for that can help me amplify my brand. So it depends on which model you want to follow. Is either you want to create content that are educative and you're explaining clothing, you're explaining styling, and you're explaining all those different models, and you want to be perceived as a thought leader, or you want to create entertaining content, you want to go viral and then reach out to the mass market. And remember, if you're reaching out to the mass market, you also want to make sure that you have the resources to be able to cater to a mass market. All right. So I think there's a question from Faith here. Thank you, Faith. The question is, how do you create stability or structure for sewing, taking orders, delivering, and not getting overwhelmed? We mentioned something earlier that the major challenge with getting overwhelmed is when you're the only one doing everything. And I'll give you a typical example. The first time I had to take a break from Learning Waters was when I realized I was sort of like I was the only one doing everything at the time. I'd create the website, and then we had done websites for a couple of clients, and the interesting thing was some of them were not in Nigeria, and because some of them were not in Nigeria, I couldn't have this direct conversation with the founders. I was speaking mostly with their employees at some point, and they had support issues, and then we would have to reach out to the founder, and then the founder comes back and says, oh, we need to get this done, we need to solve this issue. But the challenge I was facing was that every time they came with a support issue, I had to be the one to do it. I at that time did not have team members that had the same skill set as I did when it comes to website development. So while I was like the only one doing it, I started to feel overwhelmed. And then my structure began to crash, because while I built structure around how to handle clients, from onboarding the client, getting the challenges of the client, then getting to build for the client, and then getting to satisfy the client, there was no clear structure built around maintaining the client. So the time the client will now come back on challenges that they have, it fell back to me because there was no structure catering to that. And then I started to feel overwhelmed until I just felt like I'm just tired. I can't do this all alone. And then of course, after we had serviced the customers, I really wasn't just pushing for more business until I was sure that I was ready to build structure. So one thing you want to ensure in building structure is that you are not the only one doing things. And you also want to make sure that you are building SOPs, that is standard operating procedures, for people that you have trained to be able to follow that same model in how they help you execute your service. Now, there was this other material I how to structure your business. That's one of the free resources we're also going to be giving at the end of this webinar. So when it comes to building a structure around taking orders, delivering, and not getting, that's the structure basically. You have to build a structure around how you onboard the customer, and around the experience of the customer, how you deliver the service, and how you take the orders, and how you fulfill the orders, and also taking feedback from that customer. So that's the structure that you need to build basically. You need to have people working with you, probably apprentices, or you have people in your employ, or maybe you have other fashion designers, maybe in a fashion design community, for example, who are willing to, take some jobs off your hands and assist you in sewing. But for you to do that and maintain your brand, except if you don't really have something peculiar about your brand yet, and you're just like, oh, this guy can sew, or this girl can sew, and she's good. You can give her the job to help you do it, but then you are the one interfacing with the customer. That can be a model, but you have to have a model that ensures you are not the only one doing things and you are not biting more than you can chew. So the model can either be you have apprentices who are learning from you, who are doing the work with you, or you have colleagues or you have peers who probably have freer schedules, and then you can outsource some of those jobs to them, and maybe you undo part so that you're not feeling too overwhelmed, and then you can agree on the commission they get, for helping you with that particular product. So you really want to decide that at the early stages of your business, because by the time you want to build traffic, that is really when you begin to get overwhelmed, right? Yeah, so we've done that. So the second one is on posting on TikTok. Do you promote the post for visibility and engagement? And also, please shed more light on the AI promotion. All right, so if you want to promote on TikTok, you don't need the AI promotion yet. The AI part that I mentioned is to sort of like create multiple contents effectively. So in the earlier times, I want to say in the olden days, in the earlier times, the way we would have to repurpose content is that once we create a video content, you have to now go on CapCut or Canva. There's this app we used to use then, UCut. I don't know if anybody knows UCut. I probably would like to give a gift to someone who uses UCut. Has anyone here on this call used UCut before? Anyone? If you have, can you comment? No one. It was a popular tool at that time, right? When you create a long form content, you begin to use that content to sort of like shorten the videos. But what this AI does is once you upload one single content, it helps you break it down into different content, and then it adds the captions to it automatically, and then you can re-download everything, and rather than post one video and then it's gone, you are able to post several or multiple viral moments. That's what I mentioned. And then to answer your question around posting on TikTok and how to promote it, yeah, that's what we're going to be visiting tomorrow. So we have one of our digital marketing experts from Benny Waters as well, who's going to be taking us on a session tomorrow on how to run ads on TikTok. It's going to be a practical session, on how to run ads on TikTok, how to run ads on Instagram, and how to run ads on Facebook. And I'm also going to be showing you how to do that as well. But my own focus is showing you how to use Canva and TikTok. Canva and CapCut, right? Or maybe edits with Instagram, how to create the right content format. So when you have the content format, that is what you either post on social media or you use as for content promotion on TikTok. Yeah, so that's that part. So the AI part I mentioned majorly is for content repurposing or content reformatting, not to promote the content. Well, it contributes to promoting the content, but that's not the tool you actually use to promote. Is just to repurpose or to reformat the content. That is, you are able to break down a video into smaller bits that allows you to have more content from one single video, or that sort of like translates a video content into a written content you can then convert into a blog post or social media snippets, where you can now begin to post some short form content on social media from the transcript of the video that you had created. I hope I was able to answer your question. So any other question as well? Okay, I think somehow accidentally we've gotten into the question and answer session. So another question as well before we call it a day. And if you feel this was sort of like valuable to you, if you probably got some things and it was quite interesting, I like a thumbs up. If you could use a thumbs up icon, or maybe like this post, maybe just like. And I'd like to check in with us again. Have we been subscribing to the channel? And before we close, I'd like you to please once again kindly like our page on Facebook, subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Yeah, and then the session again continues tomorrow by 6 p.m. But before we leave, I'd like to just take in more of your questions before we go. If you are also on our WhatsApp community, please feel free to drop your questions in the WhatsApp community. I mean, my folks will see it there and will attend to them. And if you are also on this YouTube channel, you can just drop your comments here as well, and then we're going to answer them from here. But if you got value from what we've shared so far, now initially we wanted to make this webinar a paid webinar. Some of you would have realized We wanted you to pay for the price of a medium pizza to join this webinar. That was around 7.5. But then we thought about it and thought to make it free. So, but if it gave you some form of value or you considered it valuable, please would like a thumbs up, a like, or whatever, at least as an exchange to let us know that, well, it was valued. Maybe that just was important to us. So, any other questions, please? Any question? If you have a question, please feel free to ask. If you have a question, please feel free to ask. So we're also going to be, if you're not yet part of our community, our WhatsApp community, the link is going to be shared in the chat right now. So you can just use that link to join our WhatsApp community as well. All right, I'm seeing the thumbs up. Thank you. I'm seeing the thumbs up. Yeah, Faith. Thank you. Value Plus Trading. Thank you. Value Plus. Are you a crypto person or you're a fashion designer? Just asking from the name, from Value Plus Trading. Which are you? And there's Olashubumi Oduyemi as well. Thank you. Um, there's Anoluapo as well. Thank you. So, any other question from anyone before we call it a close? Then tomorrow we're going to be starting exactly for 6 p.m. I know usually we like to do African time. Oh, a fashion designer and a trader. That's interesting. Thank you, Value Plus. A fashion designer and a trader. Awesome. I have someone who also does something similar, a fashion designer and a trader too. It's a good combination. All right. So tomorrow, I know we like to do African time, but please let's try to be more on time, and that helps us to give have a better use of our time. So please tomorrow again by 6 p.m. So tomorrow is going to be pretty much workshop. Now, what we have simply done here is to give you some general idea in scaling structure and looking at your model for 2026. We did this towards the end of last year, but one unique document we're also going to be sharing with you is that business structure document. It's more like a playbook that can literally help you to structure your business from day one. I mean, I'm excited to give it for free, but mind you, I paid for it. In fact, some of the content that we had to put together in this slide, I paid for them in dollars, but we're giving it for free, right? Because we want to build a knowledge sharing community. We know being an entrepreneur is not easy. It's one of the most difficult things to do. I mean, your work is not 9 to 5. Particularly for fashion designers, your work is like from morning to night and all night. Sometimes you're sewing in the midnight. I remember times when I'm coming back from vigil in the midnight, and guess whose shop is opened? Fashion designers. They are sewing. Excuse me, sorry. They're probably sewing at 4 a.m. They're sewing at 5 a.m. They're sewing, I mean, at almost any time. And so, one of the things we want to have this community is to create that, serendipity where everyone is able to contribute to each other's growth. And don't forget, we're also going to be bringing people who are going to advise us on how to apply for grants, opportunities and grants that are out there, and how to win them. We have some of them already even in the community, and we're going to be creating social knowledge sharing sessions around them. And don't forget as well, the platform that helps us to export designs to the US, to UK, and to Canada. We're going to be having some sessions with the founders of that platform from the UK. It's going to be having some happening sometimes next week or probably 2 weeks from now. But when that does happen, I mean, you guys in the WhatsApp community will be the first to know to join, and it's going to be a close. We want to be careful, not just to get everyone joined there, because one of the major concerns of these guys who reached out to me from the UK was around security, and their major concern was because we're Nigerians. I mean, whatever that means. I know there are concerns around Yahoo and Nigerians having to interact with people in the US and the UK. There are concerns around integrity. So we want to be careful who we firstly open up to join this platform. And sort of like gives you an advantage, right? So you have to get your craft right, get your business in order, and prepare yourself for opportunities. I believe 2026 will be a massive year for opportunities for fashion designers, for you to export your designs not only to other parts of Nigeria, but to the world, right? That's some of the things Benny Wallace is sort of like going to be doing for you. We want to help you export your business to the world and help you grow. But then when you put the right structure in scale, when you put the right frameworks in place, then growth becomes easy. So someone is asking a question right now, and the person is saying, how do you combine fashion business with schooling? Yeah, this is an interesting one. For me, I would rather say you focus on productized services or customers. We mentioned two segments in your model. Can you take us back to that screen? Um, so we mentioned two segments in your model where we said you can have either work as a still backwards, either work productize your services. Let's take it backwards. Back. Yeah, thank you. This part. We said the phase one is people you solve for normally. Now, because you're a student, you're going to be very busy, especially during exams. So you want to be careful at what point or at what time you have customers. So what I would rather recommend is you focus on productizing your service. That is maybe making things like wristbands, tote bags, scrunchies. I have someone that sells scrunchies. So it's sort of like is what comes to mind the most. Ed bands. What else are there? You can give me ideas, please. You can drop them in the chat section. Things that you can sell, you can just sew and sell repeatedly without having to. And maybe all you just need is maybe just measure sizes, t-shirts. What else? Please give me ideas. We have fashion designers on this call. There's still quite a number of you here. So I've mentioned scrunches. What else? Tote bags. What else? You can just put it in the chat section. You can leave it on the chat section. What else? I'm waiting. So it's going to bail us out. Please don't feel shy. What's that? Okay. Yeah, thank you. Lab coats. Yes, that's one of those. Imagine you're supplying hospitals. Maybe just get a contract from a teaching hospital and then you're supplying lab coats to all of their medical staff. Bonnets. Yes. Thank you. Bonnets. That's correct. Maxi vintage shirts. Yes, correct. Zara caps. Yes, that's also correct. Yeah, so these are things you can sort of like productize. Even for the caps, for example, you may not even have to sew them. You can even buy some ready-made and you are branding or putting your brand on it, and then you are just selling them. That's what you're doing. You just let people know that you sew and you sell, and you may not even be the one sewing them, right? You may just have someone else who does the sewing, and what you are doing is that you are selling, and that way you're able to focus on your school and you're doing schooling and your marketing. That's all. I have a friend and that's what she does. She built a brand. She's Sire by name, and such an inspiring story. She had been dealing with sickle cell. She's a sickle cell warrior, as she oftentimes refers to herself. Has been dealing with that for years, and because she doesn't really have that energy, and she has always had passion for fashion, right? Passion for fashion. That's interesting. What she does is she gets tailors who are really good to sew for her hoodies, t-shirts, round neck t-shirts, hoodies mostly. And what she does is to just put a brand. Joggers. Yeah, she does joggers too. And then she just prints a brand on it. That's all. She prints her brand on it and then she sells. That's all. So as a student, that's what you want to focus on. You want to start with something that doesn't take too much of your financial budget. Maybe tote bags, for example, it's easy. Maybe you sold like 10 at once, maybe, and your cost. And that's why on Sunday, we're going to be having one of our tools displayed to you. We built a profit margin calculator that you can use for free. Now, what do we mean by profit margin calculator? You can put in the price it costs you to buy, maybe your transport, your expenses, it costs you to buy that product. You also add how much you are selling that product, and then you are able to get how much is your profit, and then see your profit margin anytime you are making a choice on which products you want to sell. And that way you're making an informed choice or an informed decision on the service or on the product that you want to sell. So that's one thing you want to think of. So for you, I would advise you create products that you can sell. Now, don't also forget that you can create digital products. I mean, take your time. You can even work with fashion designers. There are some people that struggle with creating a part of some t-shirts. Some people struggle with maybe how to create the shoulder parts. Some people struggle with how to maybe design suits, and maybe what you simply did was at the point of maybe during your holidays, you worked with someone who knows how to do the suits well, and you focused on the details, maybe the design, the images, and the explanations on how it can be done. And then you put this whole knowledge into a PDF, and then you put it on Seller. And then what you're doing is that you just make yourself a TikTok creator, and you're just marketing your stuff on TikTok. And that's all you talk about. You talk about how fashion designers make simple mistakes around a certain kind of cloth, and how that you found the solution to those mistakes that they made, and you put it in a PDF, and that PDF is being sold for 2,000 naira. And if that's what you're selling, and you're selling it to first time fashion designers as well, you're making your money as a student. That way you are buying time. And if you, even if you need to sew, tote bags and other things, you don't have to be the one to sew them. You can have fashion designers who sew them for you, and what you are focused on is marketing and selling. Right. I hope I was able to answer your question on balancing your fashion design business with schooling. And that's to Glory. Glory, I hope I was able to answer your question. You can give me a thumbs up if I was. I like to know if I am able to answer your question or not. A thumbs up will be fine. Are you still with us? All right. So, any other question? We're coming to a close in about 5 minutes. I'm being told there's a question. Is there a question on the go? Another one. Okay. Oh, I can't find the question here. Just a minute. Okay, yeah. So there's another question here. My question is, where is this on the YouTube as well? Oh, okay. So this question is on collaborations. How do you advise a fashion designer to collaborate with investors? Hmm. Well, usually I won't say fashion designers collaborate with investors. It's more of investors coming to invest in your fashion design business. And of course, for this kind of question, I don't want to give a generic answer. So if you're in our WhatsApp community, I'm an admin on the group. You can reach out to me one on one, and I would answer all your questions, because sometimes you need investors at different stages of your growth. And for fashion business, depending on how you want to build or how you intend to structure your business, that's what would inform the kind of investors you are probably looking for. And that's what I have to say right now. So I just would want you to reach out to me personally in your I'm sorry, in my DM. I mean, if you're on my we're on the same WhatsApp group, if I'm correct. If you're not, just join that same community. I'm an admin on the group. My name is Ifeoluwa. Just send me a DM. I'd like to visit that question with you more one on one. Yeah. All right. You're welcome, Glory. Thank you. So, any other person as well? Any other question? I'd like to take one or two more questions before I go. I'd like to take one or two more questions. One or two more questions. One or two more questions before we call it a close. Yeah, we're going to be closing in around 1 to 2 minutes. All right, but I of course I know that well, for those of us that are on the same community, well, you can always reach out to me anytime. And this session again continues tomorrow. This session continues tomorrow. And tomorrow, please, it might appear to be a bit fast paced, because we're going to be getting straight right into creating ad content, and then how to run ads on TikTok, how to run ads on Facebook, how to run ads on Instagram. So it's going to be a bit quite fast paced. So you want to get ready. And I'm not sure it's the kind of video you want to be distracted watching. So you're able to pay attention. So you don't have to come back to Bending Waters and have us give you a quote to help you run ads. You should know how to do it yourself too. That's why, that's one of the reasons we're, having this webinar as well. So I'm hoping that everyone, prepares ahead, towards tomorrow's session on running ads. All right. So I want to say a big thank you to everyone for joining tonight. A big thank you to the Bending Waters team, for helping us to moderate this event. A big thank you to everyone for joining. And then we're going to be coming to a close now. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow, exactly exactly for 6 p.m. Until then, please stay safe and have a lovely night rest. Bye.